Hello and welcome to another weekly update. This morning I'm at Norwich International Airport, excitingly, going over to Amsterdam for ESPC today, which is going to be really good fun actually. Multi-day conference in Amsterdam. It's the old name for the European SharePoint, Office 365 and Azure conference. So lots of good stuff there. Jeff Teeper is doing the keynote. And so that's going to be really good. And then later on in the week, I'm coming back to London for the Call and Contact Centre Expo in London. So that should be really interesting as well, actually. So two really good conferences coming up this week. In between that, though, there is lots of other things happening. So let's get through those. Apologies for the audio and video not being quite as good as if I was at home with all the stuff. This is reminiscent of weekly updates from a couple of years ago, if you remember that time. But anyway, so first thing, link unfurling and search-based messaging extensions, those things that you can have in Teams apps. We've talked for a while about them being in Outlook and coming to Outlook. They're now GA, but for desktop and web. So one of the big things that was kind of a challenge last time we spoke about these things is that they were available to preview on the web experience, but the desktop clients were kind of lacking behind a little bit. So it looks like that's all been sorted out now, and there's good desktop support for these things. These are so link unfurling is the thing where you paste in a link and it makes a nice kind of preview of it. As a developer, you can specify what that looks like for your own format of URLs that you own, and so you make a really nice experience. That might for internal links for like CMSs and internal sort of line of business apps and stuff like that, and also messaging extensions. We've talked about messaging extensions a lot, and we spent quite a bit of time, I think earlier this year it was, or it might even have been last year, when we were talking about their capabilities coming into Outlook and the Office.com experience, and really broadening out what it means to be a Teams app and making those apps available in more and more places. Messaging extensions are quickly becoming the kind of go-to hero experience for extensibility on Microsoft 365 at the moment, just because they're available in so many different places. You've got them in Microsoft Teams, you've now got them in Outlook, and of course they're the jumping off point for extensibility in Microsoft Copilot, Copilot for Microsoft 365. So those messaging extensions, that link unfurling, that's now GA for Outlook for web and Outlook for desktop. The blog post announcing this was curiously quiet about Outlook for Mac, so I can presume, and so can you, I think, that it probably isn't supported over there yet. But it's good to see it in the desktop as well as the web experience. Quite often these new things come to web and desktop lags behind, and that's been the case. But I think the team here kind of wanted to get it available on both those two big places before they ticked the GA box for it. So that's good to see. Alright, the Microsoft Graph CLI. Now, we talked about this not that long ago, back in September I think it was, when we first heard about the CLI going into preview. It's now going GA, so they've had a very rapid sort of preview process really going GA. So version 1.0.0 is now officially GA for you to use. So that's exciting if you've been waiting for the GA for this. It's a CLI for Microsoft Graph. That's exactly what you think it is. So it's great to be able to use that. I find it very useful. It kind of saves a lot of messing around. If you want to just quickly try something, it saves kind of teeing up a whole bunch of code just to make some API calls, or like set up all the auth and stuff in Postman. It's nice just to be able to fire up the CLI and quickly test something out and see what the responses look like. So that's good. All right, other things. So at the same time that we had Microsoft Ignite a couple of weeks ago, we also had .NET Conf 2023. Now, it kind of overlapped, and that's just the way it is. The .NET Conf people set their dates in stone. They're set for a long time in advance, and it doesn't really matter because .NET Conf has always been online only anyway. So that's interesting. But what it did mean is that I didn't really get an awful lot of chance to look through all of the different sessions that are happening there, just because it was kind of I was so focused on Ignite news. Luckily, Jamie Maguire, who a fellow MVP, Jamie Maguire, was paying attention, which is good, and he has compiled an excellent list of sessions that is kind of like an aid memoir for him, I think, to go back and watch. But actually, it's a very useful way of shortlisting what is an awful lot of sessions at .NET Conf into a more manageable kind of list that you might want to go down and have a look at. For me, there's still too many sessions to catch all of them, so I'm going to be cherry picking off that list, but it's nice that they're all available online. I think they're all to YouTube as well. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I heard they're all going to YouTube. I'm going to find out in a minute because I'm going to try and download some for the flight, so we'll see. But yeah, there's a ton of different sessions there of interest to .NET developers everywhere, I would imagine. All right, and finally, something new and interesting that is on the Microsoft 365 roadmap. I probably will be doing a blog post about this, although I say that a lot and never do. So you're quite lucky if you're listening to this. Sometimes these are important announcements that really should be blog posts by me never make it that far, just because of everything else that's going on. So you're getting the news certainly the fastest way, and sometimes the only way. And that is, there's a new set of APIs coming into Microsoft Graph. So this is for Microsoft Teams virtual appointments, and will be the ability for developers to send SMS notification messages for virtual appointments. So you'll be able to see messages being sent, you'll be able to send some messages, presumably be able to, like, I don't know, update status. I'm not sure if that's the thing. You'll be able to certainly read the status and send SMS messages. So that's really good for developers building out kind of solutions around virtual appointments, because it gives them the flexibility then to automate that process. And to kind of means they don't have to go outside the Microsoft bubble to, if they want to send an SMS notification ahead of time, they don't have to look at like a Twilio or something like that. You could do this today using Azure Communication Services, but you could totally do it. But if you're a Microsoft 365 developer and you've just figured out the virtual appointments API, it's quite a jump then to also go and learn something like ACS just to send an SMS message and deal with the separated auth and the keys and all the rest of it. Building it natively into Microsoft Graph at the same place that you set up and manage virtual appointments is smart, makes sense, and will make it easier for developers. I would expect this to fall under some kind of premium SKU, just because SMSs cost money. I don't know if Microsoft will charge like on a consumption basis for the SMSs, or whether they're just going to roll it in as part of like the Teams premium SKU. We haven't got any details about any of that. This is currently in development, and it's got a rollout date of February 2024, so it is early days, which is why we don't have an awful lot of information about it. But it's good to know this stuff's coming. All right, that is everything from me. Expect more from me over the next couple of days on LinkedIn mostly, as I cover ESPC and any announcements that come out of that. I wouldn't discount there being announcements at ESPC. Obviously, it's not a top tier Microsoft-based conference, and we have just had Ignite, but not quite often. Sometimes product groups miss their Ignite cutoff, and so they have things that they think are interesting to share. Don't forget, Jeff Teeper is going to be there, so he is able to make announcements if there's stuff that is ready now to go GA that wasn't before. You might see him do that there, which will be interesting. Alright, that's everything from me, and I'm going to let you go if you can still hear me. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing, and I will speak to you again next time.